So we've had the sprint qualifying for the Miami Grand Prix, and actually that was quite a good session, wasn't it? A real mix there, and we just, well, did McLaren miss an open goal? Let's talk about it. Just before I go into that, some news ahead of the session. Alonso's penalty appeal was denied. The steward felt the evidence wasn't new or substantial to make a change to go to the next stage. Kind of expected that if you look at my review on that, on the Paddock Talk video. You know, it's so difficult for them to be overturned. They've set the bar so high. You know, I've not seen anybody get past that first hurdle. And there's been a big upgrade, isn't there, on the McLaren, almost like a B-spec. And Piastri got half the upgrade that Lando Norris did. And yeah, they looked on it in this session. And let's get straight through it. We'll go through SQ1. Out goes the two Williams. Albon beaten by his teammate Logan Sargent. Sadly, a lap time deleted in the end because Albon was 16th, but will now line up last. It's the first time he's actually been beaten or out-qualified by his teammate in, well, probably ever by Sargent, isn't it? Sargent lines up 19. He was really angry with himself, wasn't he, at the end of the session? He got that wrong. Almost had a Charles Leclerc moment when he said, "I'm stupid." Didn't he? When he crossed that line, he was really disappointed for his home race. And then came the two Saubers, Valtteri Bottas and Zhou Guanyu. Now Bottas potentially looks like it's going to be a slam dunk penalty for him for the holding up of Oscar Piastri. He just didn't get the call, nearly turned in on him, and it was, yeah, lucky they didn't get away with a big crash there because yeah, the closing speeds were massive, and Valtteri Bottas with his new race engineer won't be happy with that, will he? I'm sure they'll iron them issues out really quite quickly. His teammate lines up ahead of him. Zhou Guanyu beats his teammate, which is a decent result for him. And Pierre Gasly, disappointing, he'll be out in Q1. And the star there really was Lando Norris. The two McLarens coming live, they were first and second, and then Alonso third. Max Verstappen did only do one run in that session though, so probably why it looked like, you know, they were so dominant. But the star of that show was Kevin Magnussen, a P5 from him. And then we got into SQ2. Lewis Hamilton had a pit infringement, so we'll get to see if there's any penalty to come off that. I think it'll likely be, it was for a pit lane infringement, and it's likely because one of the mechanics didn't have a helmet when he came out into the track, so more likely that will be a fine for the team rather than any on-track punishment for him. But Yuki Tsunoda, 15th place, he'll be disappointed, especially given how fantastically well Daniel Ricciardo's done this time. Kevin Magnussen 14th, Ocon 13th, and the two Mercedes have had a horror. Lewis Hamilton 12th and George Russell 11th, both going out in SQ2. And they've bought an upgrade to the floor as well, so they'll be horribly disappointed with that. And that's part of the problems when you bring new parts to track where you've already got correlation issues. You get instances like this, and it can really bite you when you've only had one FP1 session at a sprint weekend, and it's gone horribly wrong for them, hasn't it, at Mercedes. I'm sure there'll be a lot of head scratching going on in that one. The star of that session though was Daniel Ricciardo, a P5. Nico Hülkenberg also getting into SQ3 with a P10 performance. And again, Lando Norris led the way, and they looked quick. It was 2 tenths ahead of Sergio Perez in that session. Charles Leclerc in P3. And Max Verstappen again looked like they were struggling. A lot of cars slipping and sliding on this circuit. Looked really struggling and getting the nose into the corners, and then even on exit the rear was sliding away. It was a very, very slippery track, and yeah, we all look set after 2 first places in SQ1 and SQ2 from Lando Norris. It looked like McLaren had an open door for pole position. They've been fantastic when it comes to sprints, haven't they? But when it mattered, let's get to SQ3. Max Verstappen pulled it off, and he was surprised himself, wasn't he? He was like, where was the rest of them? Because he didn't feel like the car evolved enough when they went onto the softs. It was just one run each from all of them, and he was surprised that they nicked pole position. He didn't feel had it in him. It was a fantastic job from Charles Leclerc though, from a spinning FP1 to come back and pull it off. Just 0.1 behind Max Verstappen. Sergio Perez lines up in 3rd place, a decent result from him. But the star, Daniel Ricciardo, P4. Just when Christian Horner said, look, he needs to do some sort of head-turning performances, he's pulled it off. Just 2 tenths behind Sergio Perez in a car that should be way back. A fantastic job from Danny Ric. Carlos Sainz, P5. Oscar Piastri, P6. Yeah, he'll be disappointed because the McLarens look strong. Lance Stroll 7th. He beats his teammate Fernando Alonso, who lines up 8th. Lando Norris 9th. His first sector was horrible. He was 8 tenths down on Max Verstappen, the man who looked like he'd be taking the fight to the Red Bulls. It just went horribly wrong when they put on that softs. It just didn't seem to stick, did it? And P10 for Nico Hülkenberg. Now we've got Mercedes mid-pack. We've got the McLarens, which should be fast, and Norris out of position. We've got a Ferrari in 2nd place, Charles Leclerc. We don't know what they're going to be like in race conditions. So apart from Max Verstappen probably winning the sprint race, everything in behind is just looks like we're in for a fantastic race tomorrow for sprint, because Daniel Ricciardo lining in 4th. Can he hold on and pick some points up from there? That'd be a brilliant performance from him. And Charles Leclerc, could he do something special and take the fight to Max Verstappen? Who knows? We'll find out tomorrow. But overall, we just had so much going on, so many little mistakes, which is unusual when we see this from F1 drivers. And this is what a lot of fans like about the sprint race, me especially, because when you've only got one session, you can't iron out these and get your car perfect, and you get these sort of random results, which is kind of what we want, isn't it? It's great to see. It's a real battle for the drivers to try and get on top of their cars. And yeah, fantastic. Should be a brilliant race. Can't wait for the action tomorrow. See you then.